At 11:58 p.m., camera 4 records an empty hallway. At 11:59, the timestamp jumps to tomorrow. This is an original fictional case file from the Bureau of Lost Signals, reconstructed from archive notes, corrupted recordings, and evidence photographs that do not agree with each other. A security camera records a future hallway that starts reacting to the viewer. The file does not begin with a monster. It begins with a CCTV export with tomorrow's timestamp. Ordinary enough to be ignored until the timestamps start contradicting the room. The operator says the hallway looked freshly cleaned in the future clip, though maintenance had not arrived yet. The impossible detail is not the date. It is that the future footage reacts to the pause button. The proof object is a CCTV export with a checksum that verifies before the event happens. The audio track carries a fluorescent hum 24 hours before the bulb is replaced. The hallway is a service wing with one camera, one locked archive door, and no blind corner. A still image from the future clip is already printed inside the case folder. By the second review pass, the Bureau had 3 copies of the same event. One came from the live recorder, one came from a sealed cabinet, one came from a source that should not have been able to transmit anything at all. The clip is not predicting tomorrow. It is trying to make the Bureau replay the hallway into existence. The case rule is simple. Every replay makes the future clip more specific. The visual evidence looks boring until it does not. Dust on a table, a light in a window, a needle moving without a hand near it. That restraint is why the case stayed open. Nothing performs for the camera. The room simply changes its mind. The coordinate is a frame number that points to a door opening 1 day early. That is where camera 4's hallway stops being a location and becomes a test. Every instrument points somewhere plausible. Every human statement points somewhere else. The evidence board splits into 3 columns. The first column is mechanical: serial numbers, room temperature, timestamps, custody marks. The second column is human: what the night staff heard, what they refused to write down, and which light stayed on after the recorder stopped. The third column is the one the Bureau never shows publicly, because it tracks what changed after each replay. On the first replay, a CCTV export with tomorrow's timestamp behaves like damaged equipment. On the second, it behaves like a transmitter. On the third, it behaves like a witness correcting the official record. That progression matters, because it turns a strange object into a chain of custody problem. The Bureau isolates the file in a clean room. No network, no wireless card, no external speaker, and a fresh recorder with a blank index. The sound still arrives with the same low pressure under it, but the silence around the sound is different, as if the new room has been added to the recording. One analyst marks the moment the case stops being passive evidence. It is not the loudest moment. It is not the most frightening moment. It is a tiny delay before the next tone, a pause just long enough to feel like the file is waiting for the Bureau to catch up. The physical scene around camera 4's hallway never becomes spectacular. That is what makes it worse. No door slams, no impossible figure crosses the frame. The proof is smaller: a shadow that should belong to equipment that is not there, a meter needle settling before power returns, a tag number printed 1 line too early. The public reconstruction uses only the safest fragments, but even those fragments create a pattern. Every time the Bureau removes context to make the case easier to explain, the remaining evidence becomes more direct. The file seems to punish simplification. By mid-afternoon, the archive team tests a control phrase. They write down a sentence that is never spoken aloud. The next recording does not repeat the sentence. It does something worse. It leaves a gap exactly where the sentence would fit. That gap becomes the case's fingerprint. Not a voice, not a symbol, not a threat. An absence with consistent timing, carried from device to device as if the missing part is the message. The camera is not seeing the future. It is storing the version of the room that will exist if the tape is replayed. The Bureau tried to reduce the file to equipment failure, but each clean room replay carried one extra detail from the room that had just played it. The public copy removes the worst part. The private copy keeps it. The event behaves less like a transmission and more like a memory deciding which machine should hold it next. The final frame shows someone turning toward camera 4 before the person enters the building. The file is sealed as a future footage event, with replay contamination marked as active. If the tape is watched again, The Bureau cannot prove it is observing tomorrow, rather than causing it. The next file begins when a closed station answers a call from the tape.